Hyvää tiistai-huomenta ja tervetuloa jälleen kerran Natiivimainontaan. Kuten huomaatte, tänään ei ole Marikaa, vaan on meidän Santtu mun seurana. Eli mä olen Sanna-Kaisa markkinointikollektiivista ja tässä on meidän Kottilan Santtu. Mites sun aamu on, Santtu, lähtenyt käyntiin?
Huomenta sekä Sanna-Kaisa sulle että muillekin. No täytyy sanoa, että kyllä tää kellojen siirtäminen on ainakin mulla vienyt veronsa, että tuntui hirveän jotenkin raskaalta herätä tänään, vaikka meni kyllä niin sanotusti tuntiin normaalia aikaa aikaisemmin nukkumaan, mutta en tiedä vaikuttaako. Mites sulle?
No vähän sama. Mä oon selvästi vielä talviajassa ja tässä koitetaan keräillä kahvin voimin. Onneksi tämä tiistai-aamu on aina vähän tämmöinen lepposampi, kun tietää, että ensimmäinen puoli tuntia menee tässä. Siellä on Tommi ja Heli jo linjoilta huudellutkin, että mistä päin osallistutte. Meillä on ollut vähän markkinointikollektiivi Aamukahviseurassa tapana kertoa, että mistä päin kukin on linjat avannut, niin kertokaahan ihmeessä, mistä päin, Santtu, sä oot linjoilla?
Mä oon Vantaan Kuninkaanmäestä. Tämä on tällainen mäkinen alue täällä Lahdenväylä ja Kehä Kolmosen kupeessa. Mistäs päin sä osallistut tänään?
Jälleen kerran täällä Pispalassa. Täällä kävi eilen niin kauhea tuuli, että tuntuu, että katto lähtee irti, mutta tänään on onneksi vähän rahallisempi meininki. Mutta jos joku on muu Tampereella, niin tietää kyllä, että eilen kävi aika kova puhuri. Hei, jos täällä on linjoilla sellaisia henkilöitä, jotka ei ole aikaisemmin ollut Aamukahviseurassa, niin teillekin tietoon se, että tuolla Polssi-välilehdellä, mä itse asiassa laitan sinne heti nyt teille tämmöisen alkukysymyksen, niin täällä pääset osallistumaan pitkin tätä tilaisuutta sitten myös kertomalla omia ajatuksia ja vastaamalla meidän kysymyksiin, niin kerro ihmeessä nyt tämmöisessä testipolssissa, että ootko sä saanut käännettyä sisäisen kellosta kesäaikaan talviajasta, että onko se sulle yhtä helppo homma joka vuosi, hakeeko vielä vai ootko ylipäätään tietoinen, että tällainen kellojen kääntäminen on tapahtunut, niin kerro meille.
Nyt on Sanna-Kaisa selvästi meillä kohtalon tovareita aika paljon tuolla, että
Kyllä.
Nyt mennään tiistaissa ja valtaosa on meidän kanssa samoilla linjoilla.
Kyllä. Mutta hei, Santtu, yksi syy, miksi sä olet täällä tänään on se, että meillä on vieraita sekä Suomesta että Ruotsista ja tämä aamukahviseura käydään niin sanotusti Lontoon kielellä, niin mennäänkö sen aiheen pariin, ja mä voisin siirtyä tuonne chatin puolelle, eli osallistukaa keskusteluun siellä voi hyvin kirjoittaa suomeksi, käännellään sitten kyllä kysymyksiä tuonne vieraiden suuntaan myös englanniksi niin, että Santtu voi niitä sinne nostaa, mutta tehdäänkö me sillä tavalla, että mä siirryn tästä tuonne väkkärin puolelle ja Santtu, ota sä lava haltuun ja kutsu meidän vieraat mukaan.
Hyvä. Hei, tosiaan englanniksi mennään tästä lähtien, ja niin kuin Sanna-Kaisa tuossa sanoi, niin kysymyksiä saa laittaa ihan molemmilla kielillä. Mä moderoin niitä kyllä. So good morning everyone, and let's welcome our guests of today's Aamukahviseura. So we weren't sure whether we should translate the name of this to Morning Coffee Club, but actually there's a funny story to our first ever international guest, Alexander von Wowernin. Yeah. Could you wave to the camera so we know who's who? Yeah. And Dan Marklund.
I'm Dan.
Also, yep. So you guys are both from Readpeak, which is a Finnish native advertising platform. And today we're going to talk about native advertising in general, and also the topic of how does Finland compare to other Nordics, as you are like well established in all the Nordic countries, plus some other countries as well. But before we go into to those details, maybe a few words from both of you on introduction yourself and what you do and so forth. Alexander, could you go first,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely. My name is Alex, and I've been working with online marketing for plus 15 years, and I'm business director for Readpeakin Sweden. I started almost a year ago. Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks,
Dan,
Alex.
and I'm pretty much the carbon copy of Alexander. I'm as handsome as he is, and I just finished, but I do the same things in Finland as Alexander does in Sweden.
Okay. And Dan, you've been with Readpeak a bit more than 3 years
it's
now.
been it has gone so fast. I just thought I just started, but then it has gone already for 3 years, so the time flies.
Yeah. So like a quick definition to native advertising in the beginning, would that come from you, Alex?
I mean, Dan, if you have the specifics, you can run it if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, native advertising is probably, I don't know how you say it in English already, but I can take this this kind of one-liner in Finnish, but it's like natiivimainonta on sellaista, missä mainostaja saa käyttöönsä sellaista tilaa, mikä on totutusti kuulunut noiden medioiden omille sisällöille. That's about like what it's called in like IAB's actual native, like when you write book.
Guidebook. Yeah. The story of Readpeak goes a bit further than how long you've been on board, Dan. But in short, when did everything start, and when did the current business model, when was that found?
Yeah, the actual company is founded in 2014, I think. We had a different name. It was called Media Content News, and we only had like placements in some of Sanoma's actual inventory. But then we kind of switched when I came in. We switched from having a sales team to having actually trying to onboard people in a digital way and trying to like not sell campaigns or stuff. We just wanted to be a self-service platform. So it's around about 3 years ago it was made like the decision of making this kind of a self-service platform for native.
Yeah. And now you've been scaling from Finland to other countries for the past couple of years. Maybe then going more into today's topic. So we Finns, Alexander, I'm not sure if you are aware of it, even though there's a fun fact related to your background that you are the first international guest at Aamukahviseura, but you do have Finnish roots, am I right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was kind of funny, actually. I'm the first international guest here, but actually my grandmother is born and raised in Finland in a town called Nykarleby. So a part of me is from Finland as well. So yeah.
So if there's someone from Nykarleby, please hit the chat and connect with
definitely.
Alexander. You might find a relative, distant relative. But hey, so Alexander, with Finns always, for some reason, we want to compare ourselves against other countries, especially Sweden. So how do we compare the Finns in related to native advertising between the different Nordic countries that Readpeak is in?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I mean, the setup for buying is pretty much the same, but it might have developed in different ways depending on which companies that has built a business around the native as a marketing format. But I mean, in general, it has been the big publisher and media houses with their brand studio driving the development of a native advertising. But I think in maybe the last couple, 2 or 3 years, it has been, I mean, they've been looking for new revenue stream, and early adopters like maybe Readpeak and a few other platforms has entered the market, so to speak. So, I mean, it's more about how we how we buy native. I mean, it's in Sweden. We like our Swedish fika, right? So it's more managed service kind of setup when we buy stuff and do business. And in Finland, it's more self-service. And I think that is the biggest difference. I mean, in Sweden, of course, it's bigger competition between us, so we always kind of make a sales force around it and have our fika, so to speak. And I mean, in Finland, I mean, you're very, very good at working with your content, producing content. For example, in Sweden, we're still here. I mean, we don't have content for it, and I believe that is not the case in Finland. I believe that you're working with your content and your blogs. In Sweden, it's a lot of moving parts, third party producing material and stuff like that. So it's I think that is pretty much the difference.
That's probably like the biggest obstacle for a business like you, that if the company doesn't have content, so then basically they are not like able to utilize your service. Dan, how do you feel about the stuff that Alexander just said, that we in Finland are a bit ahead when it comes to content? Does this also relate to like other markets that you operate in, like Norway, Estonia, the English-speaking market?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as Alexander said, of course, it's always like fika, and you need to, when you're in Sweden, you need to like build up a little more of a connection with the client and the publisher and stuff like this. You kind of like need to have some kind of like connection there, and I think like the Finnish mentality actually serves best for a self-service platform, because we are kind of like these kind of people that if we don't need to talk to anyone, we would probably want to do that. So then when we think about Sweden and Finland, money-wise, I think there's a big also, like if we say a company makes a test campaign in Readpeakin Finland, usually the budget is around like maybe 300 to 500 euros. But then when a Swedish company makes a test budget, it could be like 5,000 euros for just the test. So the budgets are a bit bigger also in Sweden. Yeah,
the scale is bigger. Hey, we've had a few polls running up there on the site. So Sanna-Kaisa asked our audience today, what's their relationship with native advertising? And roughly 1/4 of the people do it continuously. So there are a lot of listeners today on the line that are doing it constantly, and in total, roughly 55% of the people have at least tried it. How does this compare to other markets outside Finland? Maybe more towards Alexander.
I think it's pretty much the same, I believe. I don't have the actual numbers for Sweden and the rest of the Nordic region, but I think it's pretty common that the company have done some tests because content marketing has been around for ages, and to distribute your content is a pretty easy way to do it. So I think it's more about what you want to get out of it when you do a certain campaign or test it. I think it's the difference when you do a native campaign is actually what is your goal for your native campaign, rather than have you tested or not. So it's actually the KPIs that I think maybe less companies have the knowledge about what to look for if a result is good or bad when it comes to running a native campaign. I think that is the bigger difference. But in general, I think it's pretty much the same. I don't know if you have some comment on that, Dan.
No, I think you hit it nail on the coffin. I mean, that's just how I think too.
Yeah.
Okay, well then basically if we compare like the status of native advertising in Finland compared to other countries, so you mentioned that we're more ready and set with the content already right from the get-go. We're probably more straightforward in trying out new things, but then, for instance, on the other hand, when a Swedish company tries out something, they don't pilot with 500 or 1,000, they pilot it with 5,000. Any other like handicaps or differences that companies do differently outside Finland?
I was pretty amazed by it's more maybe always on in Finland, so to speak, because you're working with smaller budgets, but you're more active, more continuously in your thoughts around native advertising. I think in Sweden, of course, it's big budgets, but maybe you have still this thought of doing a campaign, and you involve agencies and content producers, and you contact the brand studios. I think that is more common in Sweden, that you look at a strategically yearly plan and you plan maybe 2 to 4 big campaigns. But in Finland, it's more like always on. You have your content, you're always on, and you do it by yourself through maybe a technology like maybe Readpeak, and that is a difference as well.
Yeah, I think like if you compare like the Nordic countries, I think like the Finnish tech, usually, I know you know it too with Lido and stuff. I think the tech-wise Finland is on a super high level, and we would definitely have like with Readpeak also, we could have like gone to Sweden much sooner, because when we went to Sweden, we noticed that we are super like there's nobody like us in Sweden. And I can see like the Finnish and Denmark are more tech like heavy, and then Sweden are more like maybe like sales and more marketing and stuff like that.
Well, that brings us to our next topic, which is like really interesting, because like the origins of native advertising comes from the publishers. So like how to commercialize the inventory that is quite vast in the digital environment, and finding out the native advertising as an ad format was somewhere between 2010 2011. So it's been around quite a long already. Yeah. So like what made it so that a Finnish technology platform in this field that had been established for a while was the one that started to fly or got the wings, so to say?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take it, Alexander, that's fine.
No, I mean, I think it's from the beginning. It's pretty much what we've spoken about regarding culture-wise, how you do business. I mean, I believe Finland is now leading the way. I mean, it's trending more to self-service, and I believe that, programmatic native is a very good way of, scaling your native, and probably the latest buzz in the native format, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like when Readpeak was found and we tried to get the platform working, I think we always had the medias themselves in mind, so that they can do stuff there too, and they can have their brand safety and stuff like that, because we know that if we see like on the global scale, there's a lot of players there, and you can't keep the brand safety as good as possible, and you don't know who is the advertiser there and stuff like that. And I think Readpeak always has had that in mind when we started. So
yeah, like the content security is really like an important issue. When we talk about like content distribution, which basically native advertising is producing the solution for, you can't ignore the fact of like social platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook. And what comes to those platforms is that I think that the solution provided by you is much more transparent in the ways of how the data is utilized compared to those like walled gardens. But how do you come about that topic? Because basically like a company could only be delivering or distributing the content through social channels.
Go ahead, Alex.
I didn't quite hear the question. Is it? It was buffering. Just...
It's more yeah. Sorry. So I will repeat it. So a company might as well just be distributing their content via social channels, but there are some issues related to those walled gardens. But how do you address that issue? I assume that that's something that you discuss quite frequently with your prospects.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah,
to
I mean,
Dan?
I understand what you're saying. I mean, for us, always when it's in the media's hands, which are going through and which are not. So basically, we are doing like a two-step protocol. When we get a content into our platform, it's checked by us first, and then we send it to the media. The media can also say it that if they don't want this to be distributed in their channels. So it's always on the media side, and that's a good thing also for the media, that they can always have a check on that they have the brand safety and they have the kinds of adverts they actually want on their site. And that's kind of hard to do in Facebook or LinkedIn, or there's so many people there, so you kind of don't have probably that kind of like value for that.
Yeah. Hey, there are a few good questions in the chat, so let's grab on those. On a more general level, so have you got an idea about the level of digital skills in Sweden compared to Finland among your customers? So there's probably more towards Alexander. So what's the level of digital marketing skills? For instance, marketing automation, data-driven marketing, and so forth.
If it's how it's compared to Finland?
Yeah.
I mean, Finnish is I mean, you're so quick to adapt new technologies. So I think, I mean, Finland is pretty much ahead of the technology and the trending in that, and then Sweden is adapting as well, and it's innovation country as well. But I think Finland is adapting it much faster, I would say.
Dan, how do you feel about that? Also, not just compared to Sweden, but other locations that you operate in?
I think Finland is pretty much on top on the skill set, because we have good schools, we have good teachers, and I think that's kind of a way also to recognize that Finland is a super tech heavy and tech savvy country. For example, I think I actually lived in Sweden for a while, and I was surprised that there wasn't kind of, because it's a bigger country, I was thinking that they have all of the innovations there. But then when I actually lived there, I saw that they are still using, for example, just paying with cash, and you can't have an app for everything, which in Finland we actually do have a lot of apps for everything right now. So that's kind of my perspective, that Finland is, as Alexander said, pretty fast and quick to adapt to new things and make things work.
Yeah.
Hey, one specific question. This is more related to the publisher relations part of your business. So what are the ways with which you can like make native advertising more visible on the media side? So for instance, in news media platforms, they tend to blend in within the content that are like quite content heavy. I know this is a hard topic, because basically that's exactly what they should do. They should blend in. But maybe Dan, this question towards you.
That's a tough question, because our inventory, actually, you are competing with, let's say, for example, Sanoma's own content creators. So basically, all of the news stories, your advertisement is like kind of trying to get compared with that. So basically, you have real-time reporters who write a lot of stuff, and then your advert is in there some. And as you said, Santtu, I think that's a good thing that it blends in, because then you can actually see that the native advertisement works, because they look like an actual article from an actual reporter or something.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much. I mean, when you look at native, it's all about adding value to the readers, and I mean, it's the format and how it looks. It's of course to blend in feed at the publishers, but we always say that. I mean, you need to create very, very good content because it's a way of telling your story. Being top of mind and sharing some value for the readers. So I believe that is pretty much what native is all about. Yeah. It's a big format where you actually can express yourself as a company to gain value of your brand if you do it the right way. It's not just selling a product or a service. It's adding something to the readers. That's my point of view.
Yeah. Tightening the relationship. So if you want visual fireworks, then that's the solution is banner ads in that case. Then.
So.
Hey guys, last question of today's session. Sanna-Kaisa has asked our attendees today how often do they like take inspiration like outside of Finland, but I will twist this question a bit towards you. So what is the source of like inspiration marketing wise to you? Is there some kind of source or some kind of podcast or a book or something that you use to get new ideas to your everyday work?
Do you have anything, Dan, to share with us?
Yeah, I'm listening and watching is Gary Wee, and I'm trying to get something from him like every day, trying to do stuff. And of course, like different podcasts, I'm always trying to learn more about like business in as like a whole, and try to make myself better in that way so I can understand and always. And also just like scrolling around LinkedIn and trying to like find the things that are interested and which are on top for say Clubhouse right now and stuff like that. So there's something.
Yeah, so just being active. There's actually like one short question, but this is really broad. So Alexander, try to be as prompt as possible. But Paula is asking, what could we learn from Sweden as Finnish marketeers? You know some Finnish people, and you work with us. So what could we do better in marketing? No one gets offended.
I mean, dream big is pretty much what I say to my team and pretty much the rest of the Nordics as well. I mean, it's just to believe in what you're doing and maybe think bigger, because the step to maybe Sweden from Finland is not that far, and you're really good in this area, so don't be afraid to take the step further on.
Yeah, yeah, and the one thing we all like learn Swedish in school. So basically, we have all the steps. We have a lot of like Finnish Swedish speaking people, which we can be an example of that. Me and Thomas actually just from Finland went to Sweden, even though we both talk Swedish, but I mean it's closer than you think.
Yeah. Hey, thanks Alexander and Dan for joining us for this Aamukahviseura session.
Thank you.
This morning. Really interesting questions. We could invite Sanna-Kaisa back on stage to quickly talk about next week's session. Sure. So
thank you.
If Alexander and thanks guys. If you can turn off your camera so we have space for Sanna-Kaisa to join.
Tervehdys.
Huomenta.
Moikka. Vitsi miten hyvää keskustelua, ja mulle tuli ainakin paljon uusia insightteja siitä, että me ollaan oikeasti aika pitkällä verrattuna muihin maihin tässä tekemisessä.
Mä olin kans ton sisällöntuotannon osalta yllättynyt, että tilanne on oikeasti tämä. toki ei yllättänyt se, että kun suomalainen kokeilee jotain, niin sitä kokeillaan pienellä budjetilla verrattuna ruotsalaiseen, mutta ehkä se sitten linkitty tuohon rohkeuteen, mitä Alexanderkin sanoi tuossa lopuksi.
Kyllä.
Että kun Suomessa on hyviä juttuja, niin voisi vielä vähän rohkeammin sitten olla ja elää.
Kyllä. Onko sulla jotain muuta sellaista vinkkivitosta, mikä tuosta niinku keskustelusta jää itselle mieleen, että mitä kannattaisi muistaa?
No ehkä ne tuli tuossa jo, mitä käytiin niin kuin läpi, että me suomalaiset ollaan yleensä aika niin kuin ensimmäisenä lyömässä itteemme maanrakoon tai vähättelemässä itteemme. Et nyt se on niin kuin tuossa todettu, että vaikka sisällön tuotannon ja sisältömarkkinoinnin osalta, niin ollaan aika hyvässä etukenossa, että tehdään se vaan vielä rohkeammin.
Kyllä, ihan samaa mieltä. Hei, tässä on vielä pari minuuttia aikaa, niin mä ajattelin, että mä voisin kertoa, että mistä ensi viikolla puhutaan, koska ensi viikolla ollaan heti pääsiäismaanantain jälkeen jo tiistaina totutusti linjoilla, ja silloin me saadaan vieraaksi Dagmar Drivelta Marjosalmen Iida, ja Iida on luvannut antaa tämmöisen 6 kohdan tsekkilistan siihen, että miten kannattaisi tarkistaa toi oma markkinointimittaristo, että onko se kunnossa, ja kannattaa tulla ehdottomasti linjoille, silloin puhutaan siitä esimerkiksi, että miten konkreettisesti voisi lähteä tämmöistä markkinoinnin mittaristoa rakentaa, ja sitten mitä voisi ottaa avuksi, jos se tarvitsisi vähän freesausta, jos sellainen on jo olemassa, ja sitten, että miten voidaan varmistua siitä, että se on oikeasti tämmöinen tehokas ja riittävän laaja, että tiedetään oikeasti mitä mitataan, niin ensi viikolla mennään tosi mielenkiintoisen aika konkreettiseen pariin, niin mä laitan tonne itse asiassa chattiin jo heti linkin, että voitte sieltä ilmoittautua mukaan, jos tällainen aihe kiinnostaa. Ja tuossa myös näkyy...
Muista Sanna-Kaisa kysyä Iidalta, että mistä se on kotoisinta, mistä se osallistuu, koska tämä on hauska yhteensattuma. Me asutaan parisataa metriä toisistaan.
Okei, no niin, mahtavaa. Joo, täytyypä sanoa, että sieltä on aikaisemminkin Aamukahviseuran linjoja Siltamäeltä sit avattu. Ja hei, tuossa on vielä myös meidän vastuullisuus- ja markkinointiteematilaisuuteen, joka on 2-päiväinen huhtikuussa, niin jos tämmöinen aihe kiinnostaa, niin tuosta voi myös ilmoittautua sinne. Mutta kello alkaa lyömään 9, niin se on varmaan tässä vaiheessa meidän aika pistää Aamukahviseuran linjat tältä aamulta kiinni. Kiitos Santtu, oli virkistävää, että olit täällä meidän puolelta tänään.
Ilman muuta.
Tänään joku laittokin sulle viestiä tuonne chattiin, onpa kiva nähdä Santtua pitkästä aikaa. Niin
kyllä.
Tästä sulle rohkaisu, saat tulla useamminkin meidän kanssa linjoilla. Mutta hei, kiitos kaikille ja oikein mukavaa tiistaipäivää ja ihanaa pääsiäisen aikaa sitten, kun se siellä loppuviikossa tulee, niin nauttikaahan pitkistä vapaista ja palataan sitten taas ensi tiistaina tänne. Kiitoksia.
Palataan.
Moikka!
Moi moi.